Welcome back to the channel, Barça family. Big news ahead of a massive week for FC Barcelona. From the heated battle with the Spanish national team over Lamine Yamal's fitness, to Chelsea and Manchester City targeting teenage sensation Pedro Fernandez, and even updates on the Supercopa de España where Barça face Athletic Club in Saudi Arabia, we've got it all covered. Plus, could the Camp Nou reopen earlier than expected? And of course, the blockbuster Champions League clash against PSG, with injuries, surprises and huge talking points. Stay tuned because this is one update you don't want to miss. Barcelona working to ensure key star is not called up to national team after recent injury return. Lamine Yamal was at the center of a fiasco between Barcelona and the Spanish national team earlier this month, especially after Hansi Flick called out Luis de la Fuente for playing the youngster even though he was suffering discomfort. Flick argued that de la Fuente wouldn't have played Yamal if he truly wanted to take care of his players. While the Spanish coach didn't quite issue a proper response to Flick, it is apparent that there is tension brewing between the two entities. Barcelona making efforts to avoid Yamal call-up. According to Diary ARA, Barcelona have kickstart their efforts to try and make sure Yamal doesn't get called up for the upcoming international break. The second international break of the season will take place during the second week of next month, with Spain slated to play on October 11th and October 14th. Barcelona believe that just because Yamal is now back on the pitch, it does not necessarily mean he is back to full fitness and doesn't feel any discomfort anymore. Therefore, as a measure of precaution, the Catalans will try to deter La Roja and de la Fuente from calling up the Spanish international. Spain have already started the World Cup 2026 qualifiers with 2 back-to-back wins and doesn't really require a full-strength team. Besides, La Roja have enough players who can cover for Yamal while he sits out this international break at Barcelona and gets more time to fully recover from his injury. Barcelona, after all, will be mindful of their October schedule, which is headlined by El Clásico. Any potential knock to Yamal or any other player could see them miss out on this important fixture. Two Premier League heavyweights, Chelsea and Manchester City, are reportedly preparing to go head-to-head in the race to sign Barcelona's 17-year-old talent, Pedro Fernandez. The youngster made his La Liga debut this past weekend in Barcelona's dramatic 2-1 comeback win over Real Sociedad at Montjuic. He started the match but was substituted at halftime for Dani Olmo. Still, his involvement highlighted just how highly Hansi Flick rates him. Barcelona currently sit top of La Liga, just 1 point clear of rivals Real Madrid, and the club's faith in Fernandez could prove crucial as the season develops. However, according to reports from Fixtures, both Chelsea and Manchester City are already showing strong interest in securing his services. Despite only just breaking into the senior squad, Fernandez is considered one of Spain's brightest young midfield prospects. Barça, meanwhile, are expected to push for a long-term contract with a hefty release clause to protect themselves from losing yet another academy gem too early. But with both English clubs prepared to invest heavily in youth, this transfer battle could intensify heading into the January window. Despite just making his debut in top-flight football, there is supposedly already major interest from across Europe in the 17-year-old. The report states that Premier League duo Chelsea and Manchester City are eyeing up moves for the attacking midfielder ahead of the January window. Reluctant to lose the talents of Fernandez, Barca are hoping to agree a long-term contract with the Tianger, an agreement which would include a hefty release clause. The Catalan club's resolve could be tested in 2026, with both Chelsea and Man City said to be considering bids in excess of £13 million for the Spain under-17 international. Chelsea-Man City transfer strategy. Not a secret to anyone in the world of football, Chelsea's strategy over recent years has seen them stockpile the best young talent in Europe. After a golden era under Pep Guardiola appears to have ended, Manchester City are now looking to go down the same route as the Blues. At 17 years of age, Fernandez possesses the potential to blossom into a world-class star at either Stamford Bridge or the Etihad Stadium. The schedule list for the latest edition of the Spanish Super Cup has early this week been officially announced, and it throws up one altogether high-profile derby clash. The next Supercopa de España has been penciled for January of next year. As reward for their efforts on the domestic front last season, the quarter of Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico and Athletic Club will make the trip to Jeddah in Saudi Arabia for a mini-tournament. And as alluded to above, on Monday, all 4 clubs have discovered their upcoming semi-final opponents. The headline fixture pits Spanish football's 2 heavyweight clubs against one another, with Real and Atletico Madrid primed to face off on January 7th. And following as much a day later will be a meeting between reigning Super Cup holders Barcelona and Ernesto Valverde's Athletic Club. The tournament's showpiece will then be contested on January 11th, at the King Abdullah Sports City. Barcelona City Council no longer ruling out Camp Nou reopening on October 18th. Although Barcelona were initially hoping to return to Camp Nou this past weekend against Real Sociedad, it didn't come to fruition as the club are yet to obtain a license from the City Council. As a result, Barcelona had to play the game at Montjuic, which will also host their upcoming game against Paris Saint-Germain in the UEFA Champions League. However, Barcelona are quite confident about returning to Camp Nou for their next home game, which is on October 18th against Girona. Barcelona City Council offers a hint. Albert Battle, deputy mayor for security in Barcelona City Council, in a recent conversation with RAC1, has revealed that returning to the iconic stadium against Girona could be a stark possibility. For October 18th? We're hopeful that the necessary adjustments will be made and from a security perspective, the go-ahead can be given to partially reopen the Camp Nou. I think the minor issues that existed can be resolved, he said, hat tip Mundo Deportivo. Barcelona have already submitted the final construction certificate for Phase 1A of the renovation, which covers the reopening of the grandstand and part of GOL Sud. The club are now waiting to receive its first occupancy license, the key document required for supporters to be allowed back inside the stadium. If approved, the initial capacity for the partially reopened Camp Nou will be 27,000 seats, although recent reports suggest Barça are considering the possibility of bringing in 45,000 spectators. The City Council, which earlier maintained a cautious stance, now believes the timeline is achievable. The Champions League is about to serve us a blockbuster clash as Barcelona host Paris Saint-Germain at the Montjuic Stadium on October 1st. It's one of the standout fixtures of the group stage, pitting two European giants against each other. But the build-up hasn't been smooth for either side, with injuries and squad concerns dominating the headlines. Here are three big talking points ahead of this clash. 1. Injury problems on both sides. What was supposed to be a star-studded battle will now miss some key names. Barcelona will be without Rafinha, Gavi and goalkeeper Joan Garcia, while PSG are also suffering with the absences of Marquinhos and Ousmane Dembele. On top of that, doubts remain over the fitness of Desire Doué, João Neves and Vitinha. Both teams will have to reshuffle their lineups and rely on depth to get through this test. Even with several absentees, this match is a chance for either team to make a huge statement in Europe. For Luis Enrique, beating his former club at their temporary home would further strengthen PSG's reputation as defending European champions. For Hansi Flick and Barcelona, a victory would prove they can compete at the very top despite their injury crisis and build momentum heading into El Clasico. One of PSG's biggest positives in recent weeks has been Seny Mayulu, who impressed as a false nine against Atlanta. His creativity and movement give PSG a different dynamic up front. Starting him against Barcelona could link the midfield to the attack more smoothly, while also keeping Goncalo Ramos as an impact substitute, a role he has excelled in. Mayulu could be the unexpected game-changer in this clash. 1. Several injuries on both sides. When the schedule of the Champions League was announced, many saw the upcoming clash between PSG and Barcelona as one of the most anticipated game of the league phase. These two teams were arguably the best sides of last season and many hoped to see them meet in the Champions League final. However, this would never materialize as the Blaugrana crashed out in the semi-finals. This season, these two teams were supposed to meet and offer to fans all around the world one of the best game of the year. Unfortunately, several stars from both sides are going to miss the upcoming clash, including Rafinha, Joan Garcia and Gavi for Barcelona, while Marquinhos and Ousmane Dembele are set to miss out the game as well. Moreover, Desire Doué, João Neves and Vitinha are all doubts for the game. 2. Make a statement. Despite the numerous absences for PSG and Barcelona, a win in this game would be another massive statement sent to Europe by the Parisians. Luis Enrique would have the opportunity to prove once again that he is the best coach in the world as he looks to defend PSG's European crown. To do so, they will have to put in a remarkable performance to defeat Barcelona led by Hansi Flick and Lamine Yamal. 3. Seny Mayulu must start. With the many injuries hitting the European champions at the moment, Seny Mayulu have been able to showcase his talents as a false nine, most notably against Atlanta in their Champions League opening game. His role and placement were similar to Ousmane Dembele's, which helped Paris to a superb performance to start their European season. Ahead of the upcoming clash against Barcelona, having him start would certainly bring more connections between the midfield and the front line. Additionally, it would bring Goncalo Ramos off the bench in the second half. The Portuguese striker is a formidable impact player off the bench while he has had tremendous struggles when he was given starting berths by Luis Enrique this season. With depleted options up front, having such a players coming off the bench would be a great option. And that's all for today, Culers. Barcelona are fighting battles on and off the pitch, protecting Yamal, keeping hold of Fernandez and preparing for one of the biggest games of the season against PSG. Do you think Barça can overcome the injury crisis and make a statement in Europe? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for the latest Barça news, and hit the bell so you never miss an update. Visca Barça.